think if they do make that adult only, it would fix one of my two big problems with the ship.
We let our kids go into the kids club once, and then we had to beg them to not go in. And we had to say, you're only allowed in for one session a day, because they'd have been in there all the time.
I love getting drunk on Disney. Like, nobody does it like Disney. And it's not the cheapest, but it's not the most expensive cruise line I bought cocktails on either. Hello everybody and welcome to the Magically Cruise and Travel podcast, where we share our personal cruise tips and travel reviews to help you make the most out of your next holiday. My name's Kieran, an independent travel agent specialising in all things cruise, Disney and North America, and I'm joined by my fellow co-host.
Hi, I'm Sarah and I write over at Mini Travellers, and we help families explore better and for less.
And today, Sarah, I am once again back from another incredible holiday. I'm very blessed this year, and I think I'm going to make everyone who knows me really irritated by the sheer number of holidays and trips I'm going on this year. But this one was fully a personal holiday. We didn't really work much while we were away. So I've had an incredible trip to Shanghai, which I went back to, did Shanghai Disneyland, then flew to Singapore, did the Disney Adventure. I was on the second ever revenue sailing at the Disney Adventure, and then had a few nights in Singapore to explore as well. And I think my heart and my head is still there, because I'm still struggling to wake up on time, because I think I'm jet lagged to hell still after all this time.
It looked amazing. I mean, we'll drop Kieran's social media links below, because you need to look, because I've just been following for the last, I don't know, it feels like forever, a couple of weeks. And but it's like every time it's on, I'm quite excited to look through it all, because there's so much to look at. And no, it's been brilliant following it. So I can't wait to hear about today. We're going to discuss the Disney cruise, and it's the newest Disney cruise ship. And her name is?
The Disney Adventure.
Okay.
She's a bit different, basically. So this ship didn't come about in a traditional way. Normally, Disney kind of design all their ships from scratch, and their current kind of leading class, the new class they're building, and they still have more ships on the way, is the Wish class. So we had like the Wish, we had the Destiny, the Treasure, and there's one more Wish class to come, which they just announced the name of, the Disney Believe. Japan has ordered at least one Wish class that we know of. I've heard rumours that there may be more Wish classes come in specifically to Japan. But this ship is a bit of an anomaly. It is owned by Walt Disney Cruise Line, in America, but it runs primarily from Singapore. It is only doing cruises from Singapore for at least 5 years, and it wasn't built from scratch by Disney. It was built for Genting Cruises. Disney bought it for cheap when that fell through. I still don't understand how that fell through and all the legalities of how they bought it. But they got the actual shell of the ship that was 70% built. So all the bulkheads were in place. She was seaworthy. And then they basically finished the ship from there. And I think that is what makes this ship so unique, but also adds some problems that the ship has as well. So it's going to be an interesting one to talk about, to kind of say what I love, because I love so much. There's so much to love about this ship, but there are problems with it. And a lot of it does come down to how it came about.
Right, okay. So where did you cruise to, first of all?
Nowhere. We cruised nowhere. and this was an anomaly, because we've been quite vocal, haven't we, in the past about short cruises, don't do them, they're awful. And then to do a short cruise on, I think she's the 11th or 10th largest ship in the world, to nowhere. I was like, what am I thinking? I got very caught up in the excitement of being amongst the first people to try this incredible ship. And it is something that I probably will recommend, because she's incredible, but there are caveats to kind of whether you would enjoy her or not, depends on the type of cruiser you are. I think it's no harm in saying up front that Disney customers aren't cruise customers. Typically, obviously, there's overlap, but Disney doesn't go after traditional cruise customers. The vast majority of their cruise customers are customers who love the theme parks and want to try a new experience, and they're willing to try a cruise on the whole. There's always anomalies in that mix, but I think the hardcore Disney Cruise Line customers have never cruised another cruise line, so they're not necessarily cruising for ports, itineraries. They're not cruising for kind of to be on the latest ship or this, that, and the other. They're cruising because they're Disney fans and enjoy Disney at sea.
And I mean, it was an interesting point there, saying about it being like the 11th biggest ship in the world, and maybe that was a mistake. But actually, if I was like a transatlantic where you've got 7 or 8 days at sea, I'd happily do that on an Oasis class, Icon class ship, because I know that there's lots of spaces for people to go, and where I wouldn't do it on a smaller ship. So it's interesting that didn't work for you. So I don't know where to start with this one. So where do we start?
So it's basically starting kind of, she is a big ship. There's no denying that. She's the biggest ship in the Disney fleet. She is a ship by herself. She doesn't have any sister mates because, as I say, they bought it from Genting. She is, I can never remember the exact figures. I should probably get them out, but she's big. She was 20-something decks from my understanding. She was going to be originally the largest ship by occupancy rate. So by the number of berths on board, she was going to be, and it was something like 8,000 berths, basically. Disney changed that. They removed some of the big berth cabins, basically. So she's no longer the biggest ship in the world by berthing capacity. But she's probably like almost double the size of any other Disney ship. And that adds some amazing features and some amazing exclusive things you can only get on the Adventure. But it does create some other problems because I don't think she's been built as well as maybe Royal Caribbean's larger ships, where the spaces flow really well and you get a really nice layout and it doesn't feel overcrowded. This ship does suffer a little bit with overcrowding, and I think that is a knock-on effect, unfortunately, from how she was built.
Right. So, like, if you was a Disney... No, I mean, I don't know how to approach this because, obviously, I'm a Disney fan that wouldn't necessarily go on the Disney cruise. So, for a Disney fan, what is different for a Disney cruise fan?
I'll start off by saying it is still an incredible cruise, despite what I'm going to say through this episode where I point out some of the issues. I think it's just more to be upfront with people about them so that you're aware of them. I still had an amazing 3 nights on board. I had an amazing time sailing her. She's got some fantastic venues. If you love Disney dining, because Disney dining on this ship's done differently, so maybe we can touch upon that as well, how rotational dining works on this ship, because it is different. Entertainment works different on this ship. Character meet and greets, the layout, everything is very different from what you're used to seeing on other Disney ships. But at the heart, the spaces they've created are still very up to that same high standard of Disney. It's just the flow and the layout of the ship is so awkward that it does create like bottlenecks here and there, which is where some of the kind of like, just have to be aware of it so you're prepared to kind of wait in line or get lost multiple times on board her.
So can you explain to me, for someone that's never been on the ship, like how does it not work compared to, say, and then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to compare it to an Oasis class ship. But how is that different? Because that's a massive ship.
I think I've not been on the Wish class, so I don't have any references to the Wish class, but definitely I've been on kind of the Magic and the Dream class, the original 4 ships for Disney. And they go for that vintage, classic, timeless ocean liner look and feel. So the layout of it is very easy to navigate around. They have a big grand atrium, which is usually 2-3 floors high type of thing. And that's where kind of the characters meet and greet. You get that nice central hub space. They have the adult districts on board, so adult only spaces. You get your 3 rotational dining restaurants. You have the Walt Disney Theatre. And you have those key linchpin spaces. A lot of that stuff is still the case, but it's very different. There is no grand atrium. There is no lobby, which I think a lot of people who are regular Disney customers didn't like. There is no welcome on board. So when you board another Disney ship, you kind of get, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on board the Miller and Eccles family. And everyone claps as you get on board. There's none of that. So you don't get that big welcome on board, which kind of hurts you a little bit. There is no lobby. There is no atrium. It's like Disney, but different. It's so weird to explain unless you're like a hardcore Disney cruise fan.
So have they changed it to be like more like because MCL have got an atrium, haven't they? So more like a bigger Royal Caribbean ship. Is that what they've done? And like an MSC, is it completely different to any other ship?
It is pretty much like, for a ship of that size. I've not been on a ship that size that has the layout that this ship has. It is so unusual. So I guess the first thing to start off with is itineraries and get that out of the way, because that's a big thing about this ship as well. She does do sailings to nowhere. So she's departed from Singapore and she does 3 and 4 night sailings. So you are literally going to get on board that ship and go nowhere. They've put 2 years roughly on sale, and they've announced that she's committed to Singapore for 5 years. Whether she's going to do 5 years of cruises to nowhere, none of us know. I've heard rumors that they want to go to ports, but basically to kind of generate revenue as early as possible, they make more money from 3 and 4 night sailings and turning the ship around more often than they would on longer itineraries. So I think definitely for the first 2-3 years, we're going to probably get these 3-4 night cruises to nowhere, which raises that debate of, is it worth flying, at least for us in the West, all that way over to do a 3-4 night cruise to nowhere? I think it is if you're going to be doing other stuff, maybe using it as a bit of a midpoint like we did for kind of Shanghai Disneyland or Hong Kong Disneyland, Japan, Tokyo Disney, maybe visiting Thailand, Bali. You know, if you're going to break it up as part of a bit of a, you want your Disney fix, but you don't want to dedicate a full 2 week to it type of thing. I think it works great in that context, but there is a lot of things to consider about going all that way for a 3-night cruise, which sounds insane on paper, but we did it and we loved it.
I think actually, when you think about it, when I look at your trip and like we've messaged while you've been away and you you've been saying, oh, like, I didn't message back last night because I was exhausted, and we walked out for 12 hours. And so I suppose when that is that sort of trip, isn't it? China, Japan, it's intense. So actually, adding a 4-night cruise to nowhere on that makes a bit of sense, because you've got a balcony cabin, you can put your feet up, you can dine, you can drink cocktails. You can't be having a heavy night, can you, when you're up the next day for tours? So maybe that makes sense.
Yeah, it was perfectly timed in the middle of our trip, because we had a very intense couple of days in Shanghai with a really big time difference type of thing. So that was fully on intense. And there is a degree of like the elephant in the room. We planned this trip when we had our dog. Our dog was alive at the time. So we were limiting the amount of time we were away because of childcare issues. That situation, unfortunately, Milo passed away 2 weeks before this trip. So we did intentionally book a very intensive trip, knowing we wanted to achieve a lot in a short space of time. Possibly now, if we didn't have Milo and we didn't have to rush back to relieve childcare, we may have added more days at both ends to kind of make it a bit longer and a little less intense. That was just kind of a way we had to build the trip if we wanted to achieve everything. So there is that argument. But you're right. It was so lovely after kind of 4 days of non-stop shopping, walking, Disney parks from dusk till dawn type of thing, to then get on the ship. And yes, the first day or two was very much like explore. But by the time like our last day come on board, we were like, oh, let's just have a lazy start and let's enjoy tea and coffee. And oh my God, I need to talk about the coffee shop. Remind me to talk about retail on the ship, because they've got some really great retail on board. But yeah, it definitely was. It was kind of a nice way to kind of slowly slow down before we then got back into Singapore and we were once again out exploring theme parks, attractions and all that type of stuff.
So I suppose, right, let me go through a few questions. So first of all, indoor space v outdoor space. What was that like?
So the ship is broken up into districts, they call them, or areas. So very much like the Oasis class have their neighborhoods, Disney have gone for a similar concept. I'm probably going to have to pull them up because I can never remember them all. But they're all themed after different key intellectual properties or Disney franchises. So you've got San Francisco area, which is where the teenage clubs are ultimately. So Disney have their Vibe and Edge and Oceaneering Lab. They're all kind of in the San Francisco area. It is incredible. The detail and the theming is beautiful. It looks like this back alley in San Francisco. You can meet Baymax there, and he's an interactive Baymax as well. So he talks to you and asks you questions. You approach him. So that's really cool. They've got lots of arcade games and really fun stuff there. It's all very like neon. It's just stunning. The detail in these individual spaces are amazing. You've got Town Hall, which is the equivalent of the lobby. It's where guest services is. It's where there's a beautiful lounge that we spend most of our time in called Spellbound, which is themed after the evil queen from Snow White. You can get a giant tiki kind of evil queen that holds a poison apple tiki mug. We were trying to find out if we could find a way to smuggle it home, but we were already overweight in our luggage by the time we got on the ship, let alone by the time we got off. The town hall is kind of a bit of a celebration of the classic Disney princess story. So it's not dedicated to any one princess, but there is a giant bronze statue of Snow White by the wishing well. And everyone was like, why is it Snow White? It makes no sense. Of all the princesses, why Snow White? And I was kind of like, well, she is the original fairy tale that started off the legacy of Disney animation. So if you're going to have an atrium or lobby space dedicated to the princesses and the fairy tales, why not dedicate it to Snow White? So I think that's why she's there. And obviously Spellbound is right next to it, which is dedicated to the Wicked Witch. What else have you got? You've got obviously rotational dining, which we can come back to. You've got the two outdoor areas. So very much like on an Oasis class ship, you have kind of like Central Park and you have the boardwalk. Disney have similar spaces. You have Imagination Garden, which is kind of the middle bit, which is kind of roughly where, in rough location to where Central Park is on an Oasis class. It is an open air area that's on two different layers. So it's actually a slightly higher area and an area that's a deck lower that kind of joined by a set of stairs. And they also turn into bleachers then for people. And what's really unique about this ship is Imagination Garden is where the stage shows happen on board the ship. So a lot of kind of the Avengers Assemble show, which is phenomenal. The Duffy and Friends, which there's a whole, we could talk about Duffy and Friends for a whole episode, to be honest. Like, I'm obsessed with these characters now. But the Duffy show takes place there. The character meet and greets, the sail away party, the dance parties, they all generally take place in this Imagination Gardens place that's split over two layers. And then located off that is going to be a couple of casual eateries as well then. So you're going to have Mowgli's, which serves Indian curries, which I think I spent most of my time in Mowgli's eating kind of just really authentic Indian curries there, which is a casual eatery that's included. And then across the road from that, you had, I think it's like Grandmother Tala's, I think it's called, which is themed after the mother in, I want to say Moana, and I can't remember the food over there, but it was another like Asian area as well over there as well. So you've got two casual eateries across from the Imagination Garden, plus obviously then the Disney soft drink station. So you get all your soft drinks included for free on Disney as well. So that's in that area. Then you've got to go inside through one of the elevator lobbies and then down a level and to the back, which then takes you to the reef, which is another beautiful area that is open air. And this opens out onto the back of the ship, but not as open as the boardwalk on Royal Caribbean. If you're trying to picture that, it kind of has a bit more of a arcade covered area that leads out into the very back. But the reef is dedicated to the underwater stories of Disney. So it's primarily Finding Nemo. So it's got these giant kind of coral reef structures that light up beautifully at night. It looks beautiful at night. There's two casual eateries off there. There's a Lilo and Stitch one that does American food, hot dogs, burgers, things like that. And then Cosmic Kebabs, which why it's in the reef makes no sense. But there's Cosmic Kebabs, which is kind of kebabs and themed to the Marvel characters. I never got to the bottom of why that's here. It just is. There's a Little Mermaid shop that sells kind of more premium boutique, like designer bags and things like that. And then my favorite place on board the entire ship then was going to be, I can't remember the name of it now, but it was Ursula's boba tea store. There was an entire store that sold nothing but bubble tea. And oh my God, I think I drank my weight in bubble tea. This venue's beautiful. Again, it's all designed to look like Ursula. So it's got those like rich purples, neon colors. You get bubble tea and popping pearls and all that stuff. I loved it.
I've never had bubble tea.
Have you not?
No, because I don't like tea. So does it taste like tea?
The one I had a lot did. So I was having matcha with brown sugar boba balls, which is my favorite. It's my go-to water everywhere, to be honest. But it does taste like tea. Yeah, it's quite a taste. I have a friend who literally said it tastes like vomit. And I was like, I love it. I absolutely love it. But that's a stunning venue in there. So I forgot the name of it. I'll try and dig it out, but that's stunning. If you keep walking back, you then enter into like a slightly covered area where the kind of adult specialty restaurants are. So on one side, you've got Paolo's, which is on all the Disney ships anyway, but this one's themed to Luca. So again, it still keeps that seaside Mediterranean vibe as it transitions from under the sea. And it's really nice as well because you go from under the sea to land. So you kind of get a seaside shore town vibe. Because then above that restaurant then is a Luca-themed bar, which is really nice. And you've got like a moped and it's very much like a seaside trattoria as well. So that was lovely. It didn't get used that much because they've got air conditioning problems up there. And then on the opposite side is a Monsters Inc. teppanyaki restaurant, which is really cool to go into. So that's another specialty restaurant. I know, it's so cool. And then right at the very, very back of the ship is one of the last outdoor space on the inside of the ship anyway, kind of is Wayfinder Bay, which is themed after Moana, which is a bit of an outdoor pool as well, but they also do shows. They're not as good as Royal Caribbean's Aqua Theatre shows and is nowhere near as big as that, but they do kind of a retelling of the Moana story there. And sometimes in the evenings they have like live music and things like that. It's just a really nice outdoor kind of amphitheatre space facing the back of the ship then with a screen that they can show, like they didn't show movies, but they could if they wanted to.
Oh, so it does sound quite amazing.
The spaces are incredible. It's just a bit that join those spaces together that aren't. Yeah. But the individual spaces, honestly, they're so cool. If you want to just quickly then on the last two spaces they've got that are unique to this ship, there's two pool deck areas then as well, right at the very top of the ship. The first one is going to be Toy Story Play Place, I think it's called, or is all Toy Story themed, basically. That's where the main pools are going to be. So they've got a splash pad there themed to the aliens from like Toy Story. It's all very much like water slides, the type of stuff you'd find, the outdoor pools, all that type of stuff. This is also where the two funnel vision screens are going to be. So that's where the outdoor movies are going to be. They're going to be around there. There's Pizza Planet, so you can get kind of pizza by the slice there if you wanted to as well. So casual eateries and a bar around there. Then moving slightly back is Marvel Landing, which is where the kind of attractions are. So you've got a Baby Groot spinner that you can go on. It is tiny. It is a kid's ride, but I did go on it. Right. But there is a spinner you can go on, and there's like little mini go-karts that move at like 2 miles per hour, type of thing. So you got that. And then there is the Iron Cycle roller coaster, which, as of my understanding, still hasn't run properly. They've got issues with it and it hasn't run. It definitely didn't run on the Maiden and didn't run on our sailing either. But there is a roller coaster that looks incredible that goes around the whole of the upper deck area.
Was there a lot of outdoors sunbathing space if you wanted to chill?
Oh, yeah, totally. Like, The problem you have with this ship, and my grievance with it, and I think this is a unique problem to me as an adult-only couple, there is a lack of adult-only spaces. One of my favorite things about
Yeah.
Disney is every ship has an adult-only pool area, adult-only bars. None of the spaces on this ship currently are dedicated to adult-only, so it was tough to find a
Right.
quiet space outside to sit down and chill. There's also a case of as well, it was just incredibly hot, so I didn't spend an awful lot of time sat around in the sun type of thing, just because it was just so hot and direct sunlight. There's a bit of a shading issue. My favorite space was the Infinity Bar, which is at Marvel Landing. It's a little bit
Right.
behind it, but it's kind of an adult only. It's not adult only. There's rumors it's going to become adult only, sorry, is where I'm saying that from. Currently it's not, but it's like a bar, basically. There's nothing there for kids to do other than the bar. There's some hot tubs from my memory, and definitely 2 infinity pools, which is kind of a play on Infinity Stones, Infinity Bar type of thing. That was a really cool space, had really nice shades, and I think if they do make that adult only, it would fix one of my 2 big problems with the ship. Just a space to get away from screaming kids, because there are a lot more screaming kids on this ship than any other Disney ship, and you just cannot escape them.
Really? And was it holiday time, or was it just younger children?
It was. We didn't know at the time we booked, but it was a local Singaporean holiday. Please don't ask me the name of it, because I was told it by a taxi driver. But it was a public holiday when we were over there as well. But Disney by nature will attract a lot of families anyway. So like every ship and season, there probably will be times when they're going to be less likely to have lots of kids. But it was a public holiday and the kids were off school. So we were outnumbered a little bit.
Is it something like Shining Time or something like that holiday?
I don't know.
It's got a name, hasn't it? Because we were looking when not to go. Let's have a look.
Yeah, you do that search. We did that search after we booked, and we found out like it's best to avoid March. And I'm like, great, when am I going? Because obviously it's at the end, it's like Chinese New Year has happened. So you have Chinese New Year, which obviously Singapore is very heavily Chinese culture as well. But it's the start as well of like Ramadan and the Indian holidays as well. And obviously Singapore has a massive Indian culture. It's near to India for the Indians to go to as well. So all these like public holidays kind of combined. So there were a lot of families together. Disney said the reason why there's no adult-only space on the ship is because the Chinese and the Asians, who are the primary target audience for this ship, just down to proximity of where it is in the world, they don't tend to split up. They don't tend to put their kids in a kids club and run away like Western families do. They're very much, they do everything together. The family plays together, sits together, socializes together. But it's not just the immediate family. It's the aunties and uncles and grandparents and everything. So you do find on board the ship that families will claim a space, and there will be like 20 family members together all the time in one space type of thing. They will set up camp for the day, and that'll be their space. Not everyone does. You get transient people as well, but there's a lot more pockets of giant families going, this is going to be our base for the day type of thing. And the kids don't leave them. The kids stay with them. It's not like the kids are off in the kids club or this, that, and the other. So the adults are looking to get away. The culture is very different on kind of kids going into a kids club and being left alone for the day.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, on that, I will say that, in fact, I've just been writing up an article for Mini Travellers about cruising with kids. And it's for the kids as well, because I think, and that's how we are different as a culture, because we let our kids go into the kids club once, and then we had to beg them to not go in, and we had to say you're only allowed in for one session a day, because they'd have been in there all the time. But the kids want that freedom and want to do stuff on their own as well. I think we're just very different. We bring our kids up, we're more independent, but then as families grow apart, don't they, as well, where in different cultures they all stay together, maybe.
I think there's a lot of codependency, I think, on families spend more time together. So like, I know in Chinese culture, for example, like the grandparents or the parents will move in with the newborn family, and they will work as kind of nannies or au pairs to help out with the family type of thing. Whereas that doesn't really happen. Obviously, like in the West, in the UK, the grandmother will come over and help out type of thing, and mothers will go and help the children, and they'll pop in for the day and they'll have the kids for the day, but they don't move in and cook all the meals and do all the cleaning for kind of the new mother type of thing. It's a very kind of close-knit family unit, so to break that up is unheard of anyway. So that's why Disney launched without any adult-only spaces, but they didn't anticipate how many Western families would also want to come on board as well. So it's a bit of they were quite transparent with us about like, we're going to adjust this quite heavily, and we noticed on our sailing and from looking on people who were on the inaugural and the shakedown sailings, we saw a lot of changes to how things like character meet and greets were run, how the app was running, how reservations were made. They're adjusting things aggressively. So I don't want to go into too much minutia about like, this is how you meet the characters and this is how you book that, because I can guarantee it's probably already changed since we sailed.
And I think the thing is, this is such a new product that has to happen. You have to have that teething time of working through what works and what doesn't. I suppose that's to be expected when you go on a new ship.
Yeah,
for a new
it
sailing.
is. It's a unique thing that Disney fans have. Disney fans are hyper planners and they want to make sure they maximize all their time. So there's a lot of obsession with people of going like, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? And I'm loath to put any guides together, any information about it, because I know for a fact it is already changed and will change type of thing. So it's one of those, Disney Cruise Line is great. The app is great and it is your key to the ship type of thing. So you just have to keep an eye on the navigator. Like I was in guest services trying to sort out our room bill, and there was a lady in front of me who was just kicking off. She was staying concierge, which is Disney suite level. And she was annoyed that an item in this calendar had changed time. So she now missed out on it. And she was like, well, I wasn't told about it. And the guest services rep was like, well, that's why we have the app type of thing. Well, it was printed and it was in paper. Why is it changed when it was in paper? And he's like, well, that's why we don't give out paper copies very freely, because the schedule does change quite a lot. And it's changing because the guest behavior isn't what they're used to. So they're having to change how various meet and greets and character things, interactions happen to adapt to how the Asian market respond to characters when they're in public, which is carnage. It's absolute carnage. It's not a civilized situation at all. Like I think I told you before we started filming, when we got on board the ship, the characters came out for like a free meet and greet dancing with the kids as kind of like before sail away. And I saw Donald almost get floored basically by all the kids just running up, grabbing him. They're pulling the costume, they're pulling at his tail type of thing. And I said to Phil, I was like, that will not happen for very long. Like, and quite literally the following day, those character meet and greets disappeared from the calendar, and it was now on stage selfie stations. The characters came on the Imagination Garden stage and they danced and performed and waved to you, and kind of like a parade almost, like they're from afar waving at you, but you could stop to have photos. You can still do the meet and greets, but they were like in lines in controlled areas. Those kind of dance parties with the characters are gone. Absolutely gone.
Yeah. And I suppose that's what you've got to adapt to, haven't you? Different regions of the world do things differently. We all adapt to these environments differently. So it's going to be a learning curve, isn't it? So before we go on to the next part, which is dining, are you doing a video tour?
Hopefully. I filmed a lot of footage. I didn't film everything of the ship just because she is a big ship. But I do have footage on my phone and my camera to make a video tour. And it's on my list of things to do before I go on my next trip. So in 2 weeks' time, hopefully, I will do, if I don't do a full, my usual style of tour, I will do my first thoughts on the Disney Adventure and talk about the different spaces for sure.
Right, okay, brilliant. So dining. Let's talk about dining.
Yeah, so dining. Now, Disney obviously is famous for their rotational dining, where typically your wait staff will follow you and you will dine in 3 restaurants in order assigned to you type of thing. Because the ship is so big, she actually has 6 rotational restaurants. However, you only dine in 3 of them. Regardless of how many nights you're on board, whether you're on for 4 or 3, you will only dine in 3 of the 6 restaurants. And the way it works on this ship is the rotational restaurants are in pairs. And it's actually quite clever when you think about it. So the best way I can explain it is there's a restaurant on board most of the ships, the first 4 ships at least anyway, called Animator's Palette, which is the restaurant I think you commented on, whereby you sit down, you draw your character on the placemat, and it comes alive in all the colours around you. So this ship has Animator's Palette, but they have 2 of them. They have Animator's Table and Animator's Palette. The same menu in both restaurants, the same core concept. You draw your character, you become an official Disney animator for the day because Mickey brings your character to life on the screens around you. But they have slightly different theming. I don't know what Animator's Palette is. I believe it's more kind of behind the scenes animation, whereas ours was a little bit more kind of classier, I guess, the way to explain it. It's got a bit more of a contemporary, I think is the right word I'm looking for, design and decor, but it's the same concept. Then the other 2 paired restaurants, I can't remember the official name for them. They're like Enchanted Gardens or Enchanted Summer, something like that. But there are 2 halves to it, basically, and they're both located in the center of the ship. We were in Maximus, which is themed after Tangled. So it's kind of like been painted by Rapunzel. So there's all kind of Rapunzel artwork everywhere. There's all theming from kind of Corona, the universe from kind of where Tangled is set. And the menu, I can't remember exactly what the menu is, but it's very much like, I think they call it like garden to fork type of thing. It's very much like kind of like garden table food ultimately. Is weird. The closest bet to it is going to be like Enchanted Garden on Board the Fantasy. That's kind of the best equivalent of what the menu is going to be. And then the other side of it, is Olaf, which is then themed around Frozen. So it's obviously got Anna and Elsa and kind of lots of Arendelle style artwork everywhere. The last restaurant then, which was my favorite, and we were really lucky, and I think this is going to be a problem for Disney in the long run. There are 2 restaurants that are themed. One of them is Hollywood Land and one of them is Navigators. And ours was stunning. We were in the Hollywood one, and it's basically at the back of the ship, there's this giant wraparound glass opening, and we were in that one. It's huge. It's got really tall ceilings, these beautiful columns that are all LED lit. And it's like as if you are in a Hollywood lounge club, ultimately. And it opens with somebody at a piano and a saxophone playing. A singer comes out and she's singing kind of all the classic Disney songs, but done in that kind of Hollywood 1920s lounge vibe. I was like, I'm sold already. This is stunning. But then Mickey, Minnie and Donald come out as well and start singing the songs as well to you. And then they walk around the dining room and they come up to your table and, greet you and hug you. They work that room hard. So, you are given a 10-second maximum interaction. It's very much what do they call it? They call it like a hug and fling, I think they call it. So it's like hug you and move on type of thing, but just magic, just absolute magic. The lighting changes, it interacts with the songs and everything. It was just pure magic. Navigators is themed more to look like kind of all those sailing stories that you get in Disney. So it's like as if you're at the captain's kind of table on board a Navy ship type of thing. So you still have the characters come out and walk around. I don't know what the show is in their version because we didn't get to dine there. You dine in one or the other, basically. So you get 3 of those together, but they're kind of similar concepts. If you're going to do Hollywood and Navigators, you're going to have the characters meet and greeting while you're dining. Animator's palette and animator's table is the same concept. You're going to draw your character and it's going to come to life on the screens around you. And then the Arendelle / Tangled restaurant is the same as well, just themed slightly differently as well.
That's I suppose, but if they ever did do a longer cruise, you'd probably do one in each, wouldn't you? And do you rotate the same as you do on the other ships? So do you rotate one per day with the same people and the same waiters?
Yeah, pretty much. So the people who were on the shakedown cruise, so they did an 8-night shakedown cruise from Tokyo to Singapore, which was for cast members, family and friends only. They did rotate through all 6. So yes, there is potential for them to rotate through all 6 on longer sailings as and when she does do them. But for these 3 and 4s, you will only do you'll do 3 or 3 basically, and there's a pair. So our pair was Animator's Table, Maximus and Hollywood. So you'll have that rotation, or the other rotation is Animator's Palette, Olaf and Navigators. So you'll be assigned one of those 2. You cannot pick it, you cannot choose, and you cannot change it. Disney are very strict on it. That's not to say somebody won't down the line on guest service if you kick off enough, but officially it is very hard. You cannot request a rotation, you cannot change your rotation. You are on one or the other type of thing officially, but there are ways to fix it if you make a polite nuisance of yourself.
What times?
It's fixed dining like it is on all the other Disney ships. I can't remember the exact times, but it's like 5:45 off the top of my head, or 7:30-ish, something like that. Like there's a first seating, second seating. We always book second seating for 2 reasons. Usually it's the one where there are less kids, but also it means as well you are later off the ship on the last night, because on your last night on a Disney cruise, they assign your disembarkation time based on your rotation. So if you're in first seating, you're usually assigned first breakfast as well. So you're normally on the 6:37 breakfast, which, if anyone knows me, that ain't going to happen.
That is ridiculous on holiday. Who does that?
Get what I mean? So we never book first seating. We always book second seating. On other Disney ships, what would happen is your theatre show would be the opposite time of your dining time. So when first seating is happening, if you're on second, you watch the show first, then dine, or flip it around. This ship doesn't play by those rules because there's too many people and not enough space in the theatre. So to quickly touch upon it, the way it works is on the first night, we had Seize the Adventure, which is on the Wish class already, and it's been brought over to the Adventure. It's a great 30-minute show. Minnie Mouse comes out. She's the captain of the ship, and Goofy takes over. And it's all about... I really loved the storyline, actually. It was kind of like... Goofy said he'll never be good enough to be a captain. He'll never be good enough to be in charge of a ship type of thing. And he takes over the wheel from Minnie briefly. And it all goes wrong in that classic Disney way. And he stumbles into various different Disney stories by accident. So obviously that's the kind of jukebox nature of it. All of a sudden he's singing Frozen, and all of a sudden he's singing Jungle Book as he's got lost along the way. And then at the end, Minnie Mouse comes back out as Captain Minnie type of thing. And Goofy's like, oh, I'm really sorry, Minnie. I lost my way along the way type of thing. I don't think I'll ever be good enough to be captain. And then Minnie says this really beautiful thing to him. She's like, no, Goofy, you've gone on your own adventure. You found your own journey and you became the captain of your own story on the way. And I was like, oh, I love this. It's just those little magical Disney, like, sweet moments type of thing. So that's that show. It's very short. It's 30 minutes. That one, there are 4 showings, sorry, and you just go hoping that there's going to be space there for it. The other show is exclusive to the adventure, and it's called Remember. Very similar concept, which is what our feedback was, but it is an hour long rather than 30 minutes. But it's got a really beautiful, touching story, but I think it's too long. It's about Eve and Wally. And Wally is waiting for Eve to come back to Earth. And when she does arrive, he shows her some of her favorite memories, which, surprise, surprise, are classic Disney movies, which is how we get into a Disney jukebox type of thing. So he plays a song on the TV, and all of a sudden then the genie pops out and they're singing Friend Like Me type of thing. But unfortunately, a storm hits Earth and Eve gets hit by lightning and she loses her power. And it's quite tragic. Like, honestly, I was bawling my eyes out at the end of this, but it was a long way to get to the bit where I bawled my eyes out. And so Wally then keeps playing all of Eve's favorite memories, which are all the Disney classic film songs, to try and get her to remember her memories. But what's awful is when she gets powered back up again, she's lost her memories. She can't remember Wally. So Wally sacrifices his memories so that Eve can remember her memories. I know, literally bawling my eyes out through this type of thing. It's quite like, oh, it's a kid's film.
That's not very light, is it?
He literally pulls his like memory card out, his memories, and gives them to Eve so she can remember Wally and remember her memories. And then via Disney magic, obviously he gets his memories together. They both get their memories together and they're this beautiful kind of moment together. The puppets for Eve and Wally are incredible. Honestly, they're stunning. The quality of the show is amazing, but I do think it's too long. An hour is too long on a ship type of thing to watch a show, particularly since the core concept is quite similar to the show we watched the day before. But that show is, at least anyway, unique to the Disney adventure.
Oh, well, I don't know if I've always loved that film, but yeah.
It is. It's beautiful. Like, I enjoyed it.
What was your favourite bit of the ship? Well, we haven't even touched on the cabin yet. What about the cabin?
Yeah, so cabins are odd on this ship. So, you know, like when you're on the Oasis class, generally if you're going to book a cabin that faces inside, you're going to be paying less than those people who are booking an ocean cabin. Not on this ship, not at all. And I didn't cotton on to it until I was on board. But the reason why, if you're one of the garden-facing cabins, especially near the stage, your cabin overlooks the stage where all these kind of indoor shows are happening then as well. So those cabins are a premium. And I was a little bit bitter at the people who were kind of just casually sitting on their balcony watching all the shows. And I'm there fighting and elbowing small kids out of the way to kind of make sure I can see Mickey Mouse type of thing. So you do have your kind of ocean-facing cabins. You have reef-facing cabins, which is the other kind of internal-facing space. We had an ocean view balcony or veranda, as Disney call it. So we had one facing the ocean, which is what I always prefer anyway, because it's a bit more privacy. You've obviously got your inside cabins. They've got cabins that can sleep 6, which is insane, because apparently it's an inside cabin with 6 and they're all trundle beds, full down beds. Not something I would book, but it's an option for people if you've got a big family.
If you're a family of 6, then that makes it affordable to go, which is brilliant.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I did say that. I was like, there is going to be a market for this cabin, but it is bijou. It is small and tight type of thing. It's very much for those families who were going to sleep in the room and then spend the rest of the time taking up a space somewhere type of thing.
Yeah.
The cabins are fine. I wouldn't say they're my favorite cabin. You have the split bathroom feature, which I love on a Disney ship, so they still retain that. So you have your separate wash unit and toilet, and then the separate wash unit and bathroom, shower type of thing. That's great. The beds are fine. People were complaining about them, but we slept fine in them. There's very little Disney detail on them because these were already fit and finished before Disney. So I think Disney just put their own carpets in and they put their own artwork behind the bed. We had a Lion King room, I think. I'll check my photos. We had a Lion King room, I think. So each floor deck, the rooms have a slight different theme, but it's literally just the artwork behind the beds, the headboard, basically. There's like a little Mickey Mouse symbol on the bedside, but you know they're modern anyway. You get USB power, you get all that type of stuff. LED lights control everything. There's like dimming controls by the bedside. I have no complaints about the room. It's just the rooms on other Disney ships are much nicer. They're plusher. The detailing is a lot more higher spec. This feels a little bit like a IKEA showroom rather than a kind of like Disney plush luxury room. But for 3 nights, perfectly fine. You know, really quiet cabin. We were located on deck 11, right at the very back of the ship. Technically, we were above Paolo's, the adult-only restaurant, but I heard, apart from one morning, didn't hear anything else from anybody else.
Oh, that's good then, because that's obviously a worry, isn't it, when you know you're above a restaurant? It's like when we were behind Playmakers on Allure, and I thought, oh, but it was fine. Sometimes you worry too much about location, don't you?
And it was tough because nobody'd sailed the ship, so there was no way to kind of like go online and double check. It was just take a gamble, and it was the cheapest available category of ocean-facing balcony, basically. So the category beneath ours was technically an ocean view, so we were in like the cheapest balcony cabin anyway.
Right, but then tell people where that is then, because if somebody wants to book, then that's actually
Disney. So this ship, the way it works is you've got inside cabins, you've got ocean-facing cabins. Then I believe you have kind of ocean-facing reef ones. So they're not balcony cabins. They're windowed cabins facing inside into the reef. I believe they come after ocean-facing ones. So you can have a window facing no balcony is way to explain. Then you go into ocean-facing verandas, and there's a couple of categories, obviously, depending on how center you are, how high up, and all that type of stuff. So I forgot the number, but we were in at the time we booked anyway, the cheapest available ocean-facing balcony cabin, which was located at the back of the ship on deck 11. Then it goes into your balcony cabins facing inside the ship, starting with the reef, because there are no shows in the reef. It's just beautifully lit at night, basically. So they're more expensive than ocean-facing cabins, which boggles my brain. But then the Imagination Garden rooms are more more expensive again, because obviously they have the stage view. There is also a category of cabin Wayfinder Bay views, which are the ones located at the aft of the ship with balconies. They're a premium as well because they face the Moana stage as well, and obviously the aft of the ship as well. So any balcony cabin that faces a stage, you're going to pay more for than an ocean view cabin, basically. And then above them is going to be your concierge suite level cabins.
Right, okay. Did you get to see any of the cabins, or was it too busy?
No, because it was a revenue sailing, none of them were available to look at type of thing. I've seen pictures online type of thing, and they all look fine. A friend of ours who was on board with us, he had a reef balcony, I believe, and then the first week he had a garden balcony. I personally wouldn't book them, only because as much as it's amazing to have that view of the stage and all the characters and all that type of stuff, obviously entertainment starts at like 8 a.m. if you've got an Imagination Garden one, and it goes on until quite late at night. So you'll have carriages outside. People love that, and for a short sailing, I think you can tolerate it. But we very much like quiet privacy when we're in our room, so we purposely booked an ocean-facing one.
It's great for families with toddlers, though, isn't it? Because they can get ready, the toddlers can sit 100%. And watch the show, the fact the parents are there, so they're safe. But it's a good way to watch shows for families, actually.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think I'd like to try it one time to see what it's like, but it is a personal problem rather than is it a design problem. I think most families, I was envious when the shows were happening because they were sat in their balcony, as you say, they were drinking their own tea and coffee in their room, which I need to talk about in the cabins. Oh my God. So this ship has a partnership, and the ADHD's kicked in now, but I got very excited by the tea and coffee, but we smuggled so much of the tea and coffee off the ship. It's that good. They've got a partnership with two companies, TWG Tea and also Batcher Coffee. And when you walk into the ship as well, on I forgot what deck number it is, sorry, but above Town Hall, they've got these two beautiful installed stores, basically, one for the tea company and one for Batcher Coffee. Batcher Coffee has, and I'm going to check my notes because I made so many notes for this coffee shop because it's so incredible, 300 something plus flavors of coffee, and every single one of those flavors is available on board the ship if you want it as well. So you can go into there and literally they sit down, they go through it and like, do you want something that's single origin? Do you want a blend? Do you want decaf? Do you want flavored? I was having pistachio coffee. I was having all sorts of thing, and it is beautiful. It's originally like Moroccan style coffee rather than being kind of Italian style coffee. So it's really kind of herbal and honestly, I haven't posted any of the pictures yet from Batcher Coffee, really, other than like a snippet, but it was a highlight. But in your cabin, there is a kettle, which is a Batcher Coffee kettle as well. So it's beautiful. I was like, if I could fit that on my suitcase and I wouldn't get fined for it, it was coming home with me. But they were giving you as well, like Batcher Coffee sachets in your cabin and also tea bags. So the Brit in me was loving this. And I literally said to my cabin host, I had a 10-minute conversation with her about the tea coffee station in the cabin. Like, that was a highlight. I was having tea and coffee in my cabin every single day. And then we were taking the ones we didn't use and hiding them so she would replenish them with more.
Do you know, we always order coffee anyway. The first thing we do when we wake up is somebody's knocking on the door with our coffee. We do it every day because I can't function without it, so I have to have it first as soon as it's out of my eyes. Just order it.
I'll send you a picture of what this coffee set looked like with his little
Yeah,
bone
do.
china glasses. Like, honestly, it was...
Oh,
Do you know when things are so adorable that they become part of the experience as well? It just felt lovely to kind of be there. And be like, oh, I've got my little bone china batch of coffee cup with like a little bone china tea set. Oh, it was just stunning. The flavors were amazing. The packaging, the branding, everything. It felt like this really lovely, luxury, elevated experience. But like, we ordered a coffee to go from there one time. And again, I'll send you the pictures. I'm doing a whole post about it. I just haven't got to it yet. But the takeaway coffee comes in a cardboard tray that's all beautifully copper embossed with beautiful detailing on it. But you get a glass straw with your coffee as well to drink your coffee with. I was like, I'm sorry, what? A glass reusable straw
what?
that you just take away.
So, how much is the coffee from the coffee shop? Is it expensive?
$8, $8 US. I know, we were expecting a mortgage.
So
When she was
Starbucks,
turning around,
yeah.
she was like, oh, do you want some chantilly cream to put in your coffee? I was like, and she's like the apprehensive like cruise person. You're like, oh, this is going to cost me now. And I'm going to get like a £10 charge for this and £10. She's like, oh yeah, and you can also have your straw as well. It's a glass straw. I was like, oh, it's going to be pricey.
So do they expect you to use that straw every time you go? Is that the plan?
No, just get another one next time you go back there. I know. I was like...
They must be cheap to make, mustn't they? But at least they're not using, I suppose, plastic straws.
Well, we then went to, because we became obsessed with Batcher Coffee, we then went to the airport location, and it's the same with the airport as well. I think that is just how Batcher Coffee do it. It's a very
brand,
premium cruise line, very premium. Like, you can buy all the gift sets, everything, and they're selling like coffee kettles, or coffee pots, which I didn't know existed, but they're like hundreds of pounds, and they're these beautiful, ornate Turkish like coffee serving pots and everything. It was an experience, and I personally loved it because it's not something I've ever seen on another cruise line. And to have this really elevated kind of boutique coffee experience on board the ship, where literally there were hundreds of teas surrounding you. It was a highlight for sure, because I wasn't expecting it. I knew nothing about it before we went on board. I learned a lot about the company, about the culture behind the business, how it came to Singapore. I was like, this is an experience. The sales hosts were great at explaining like how the process worked. They're beautiful collectible coffee table books type of thing about all the different, every single coffee flavor you can get. There's a full page with the origin, where it comes from, the farm it comes from. You can read it while you're there, but you can also buy this book. If you're somebody who loves coffee culture, it is just one of those beautifully elevated experiences. It was by far a highlight of ours.
And I love coffee. As you know, it's like I can't function without it. So yeah, I'd love it. I mean, it's not the same, but like the Cafe El Baccio, is that how you say it? Baccio on Celebrity.
Oh, El Baccio.
Yeah, I love that coffee bar but then obviously I also like a cocktail. So going on to that, what were the cocktails like? Were they as good as the other Disney ships?
Oh, yeah, totally. Disney, when it comes to kind of foods, and I'll get to cocktails in a second because I want to just touch on food as well. Because the food on board is really eclectic. You have your Disney classics. So if you're somebody who loves the Disney classic from all the other ships, you're going to find your very Western-friendly foods. That's available on board. But because of where she's sailing as well, you're going to find lots of options as well for kind of Asian, and we're talking Southeast Asian, Chinese, Indian, the whole breadth, Thai. The menus have something from every single region where Singapore kind of has its ties to as well. So the menus are probably my favorite menus I've ever had on any ship, because you're getting so many cuisine options, and especially like incredible curries, incredible Chinese food. The food on board is phenomenal. But then equally, yes, the cocktails as well. Disney do some of the best cocktails at sea. You're getting really great themed cocktails. A highlight, I guess, the Infinity Bar, obviously themed after Marvel, the Avengers. It's an Infinity Lounge. They've got all the 6 Infinity Stone props dedicated on the wall. It changes color every now and then. It'll flash to like green, and the whole bar will go green to go after the time stone. It does all that stuff really, really great. They have 6 different themed cocktails as well, then based after each of the Infinity Stones as well. So it's like that level of Disney immersion as well, where you're getting all that really fun stuff. There's the poison apple cocktail you can have in Spellbound, after obviously the poison apple cup you can have. I love getting drunk on Disney. Like, nobody does it like Disney. And it's not the cheapest, but it's not the most expensive cruise line I bought cocktails on either.
So actually, that's a question, because on a 3-night cruise, right, wait there, let me get my calculator. What was your bar bill for your drinks?
I don't know because Phil paid the bar bill, not me.
Oh, right.
He was all on Phil's credit card this time around. So I don't know how much you drunk. Because I'm conscious about weight loss at the moment, I didn't drink as much as I probably would have in previous cruises because I was very conscious of alcohol calories. I've become very boring lately, but I'm determined I need to lose some post-COVID weight that I've not got rid of. But I think the average price, let me get my photos up actually, and I'll tell you the average price. Here we go. I've got the garden bar menu. So just to read some of the cocktails now, and it's all top shelf spirits as well, but they've got a cocktail that's something called the Garden Sparkle. It includes Grey Goose vodka, Chambord, lemonade, and Prosecco, and that's $12. Plus, you obviously pay a gratuity on top of that as well.
Oh, so they're not bad prices then, are they?
No. A tea time teeny, $12 as well. That's Bombay Sapphire, elderflower liqueur, lime, green tea, and pandan. That's $12. Pandan is a type of fruit, if I'm right. That's exclusive to that part of the world, if I'm right. I can't remember. And then just quickly, because I've got the menu in front of me, sparkling wine. They've got an Italian sparkling wine, a Moscato, which is $9, a Prosecco for $10. White wine, they've got an Australian white wine for $10. Red wine, they're starting from $10 basically. So yeah, you can have a very good time getting drunk on Disney. The cocktails are incredible and it's all kind of premium, top shelf spirits. There's no kind of house spirits on board because there's no drinks package, so there's no point in making it, cheap and cheerful.
I wonder if the prices are slightly lower because there's no drinks package, so they're not inflating it to make you get the drinks package.
Yeah, that's my take on it type of thing.
Yeah. I'm sure that's what happens. So, well, we don't know, do we, how much you spent? I was just trying to think, work out how much, whether it would have been worth you having the drinks package if they had one. So if you was on a different cruise.
I think I easily would have had, I think we had 2 coffees a day. I had 2 bubble teas a day easily. No, not 2, 1. I had 1 every day and then the last day I had 2 because, again, they had a collector's card. So for every 5 bubble teas you order, you get 1 free. So we filled up a card between the 2 of us. So I had that. I'll find... I think our bill was about $500 to $600, but that's including merchandise as well.
Right.
We did buy a lot of merchandise on board, and the merchandise isn't cheap. That's the one thing I will say. But then that's a Disney cruise for you at the end of the day, isn't it? And Disney parks, the merchandise isn't going to be cheap anywhere you go.
No. So what tips would you give somebody that was wanting to book this ship?
Definitely don't be put off by it. There are some issues with it with regards to kind of layout and flow, but the overall sum of the parts are totally worth it. I had an incredible time on board. I was very sad to get off. We were very much like, can we afford to book on again for the next sailing type of thing? So don't be put off by some of the comments you see that she's very different to other Disney Cruise Line ships. That adds to a charm in a sort of weird sort of way. You just have to work with the flow. The flow between spaces is a bit odd. I think from a tips point of view, I don't think there's anything really that I can think of, to be honest, because the ship does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Definitely the one thing I would watch out for, though, if I was, because it's not made very clear, check the Navigator app as soon as you connect to the Wi-Fi, and as soon as Sail Away has happened, you'll be able to book character meet and greets. Now, people panicked thinking this was the only way you could meet characters. It's not. You can just wait in line. Just obviously those lines are going to be quite long. But we booked to meet Mickey Mouse and Baymax in the Navigator app. And the Baymax wait time was 10 minutes. Mickey was a lot longer, which I was a bit annoyed about because there was no point in us booking it. We could have just waited in line. But look for the character meet and greets anyway. That's definitely going to keep going ahead as a way to control the character meets. So definitely check the Navigator app and just keep an eye on it because things are changing constantly. So shows may be added in, theatre shows, stage shows, all that type of stuff. Just keep an eye on it and be on the ball with the Navigator app.
I have to say, before we started filming, I thought, I think you'll probably talk me out of wanting to go on it because I love other brands. But actually, I'm not. I'm really curious now and would really like to see it because I think it sounds like an incredible ship.
And I think as well, the fact that she's sailing in Asia, specifically Singapore as well, I think is a fantastic excuse to go to that part of the world. I would never consider going to Singapore other than for a cruise. And it's not that Singapore's bad. There's a whole episode we can do on Singapore. Singapore's incredible. But I think this gives a reason to try maybe a Disney cruise in a part of the world that you maybe wouldn't normally consider Disney in and do something that is. It's an incredible ship. There's so much to do on this ship. I I would happily do it again. I think she just needs a bit of teething issues to kind of bed in and understand the demographic she's attracting and how they're going to work with a ship that isn't necessarily an off-the-shelf Disney build, and just solve a few of the rougher edges. But those rough edges are minor. They're not like, oh, it was terrible, I had an awful time and this was really bad. We're talking things like, and I mentioned it before we came on air, when they do the Avengers Assemble show, which is phenomenal. Like Wanda literally flies over the head of the audience type of thing, and you have this giant battle between the Avengers and the Red Skull and Loki, and there's pyrotechnics going on, there's video projections everywhere. Honestly, it's incredible. It's a highlight of the cruise. That happens in the outdoor garden space, basically, the Imagination Garden. That was so cool. But then when the show finishes, you see the Avengers literally walk into the elevator bank behind the Imagination Garden stage and get in the elevator to go off stage type of thing. So there's small things like that I don't think they can change, but it's just because there was no backstage area built for this ship, because that's what Disney would do. And then elevators to get people kind of on and off stage, they call it, basically, so your guests didn't see them. There's a lot of like issues like that. You see princesses, and you see this on the other ships, but they're shorter distances, but like the princesses will walk the majority of the ship to get on and off stage, whereas on other ships there's kind of like little side doors they can hide in out of, so you kind of keep that magic alive a little bit longer, that the princesses aren't trundling along and getting into an elevator and stood there awkwardly and waiting for the doors to close type of thing. Like, they're really minor things, but the magic of that Disney experience is better thought out on other ships than it is on this ship. But the sum of the parts are definitely worth it, and don't be put off by it if you see some people moaning on board on various Facebook groups about this ship. Like, I've seen some comments, and I think they're very much first world problems. The ship is so good. I love my time on board, and we are probably going to go back. We just don't know when, because obviously it's a bit of a distance to go to, but we're definitely going to use it, and probably, as we've done this time around, pin it in with maybe a Hong Kong Singapore trip again, because Singapore, we could talk for hours about how incredible Singapore is as well.
Looking forward to that one.
So yeah, that's a very top level look at it. There's a lot of like smaller minutiae details you can go into, but I think the key thing is this ship, the spaces are beautiful. The ship is incredible. I think she's got a very exciting future ahead of her. She is very different. If you are a hardcore Disney Cruise Line fan, then there are things you just have to accept that's just the way this ship is because of the way she's been built. But 100%, she's recommended by me. I think you can have an amazing time on her. We loved our time. It wasn't long enough. I think just as we were kind of ready to get off, we were finally, we get it now. We understand how this ship works. And then unfortunately we were getting off type of thing. There's rumours of, due to people I was speaking to on board the ship, that there's going to be a lot more stuff coming. There are a couple of shows that weren't ready in time for her launch and a debut. There's things that Disney have kept secrets. They've got things to kind of talk about down the line. And equally, they were like, we need to get a sail in and learn how it works before we unveil everything. So I'm sure by the time, in a year's time, if we were to go back, she'd be a very different ship. So I think it's exciting, and I think it's really cool that there's this new way to do a Disney cruise, and I'm hoping it gives them the confidence to maybe build a custom made off the shelf Disney version of this size ship, because I think there's potential for Disney to do a ship of this size. As much as I love their mid-size ships, but I think there's a lot of potential for this class of ship. Brilliant.
It does sound really exciting, and it's just nice to see the industry evolving and seeing new stuff, and it never sits still, does it, ever?
No, I think that's the exciting thing, to see that Disney are moving the cruise line product ahead. Yeah. We've got new ships coming and a new class of ship coming, and the Oriental Land Company are buying their own ships and putting their own spin on it with a Disney brand as well. I think Disney are going in big with new theme parks, new ships and everything. I think it's never been a more exciting time. I definitely feel like I'm very glad that I'm a Disney fan and there's all these new experiences to try and do as well. So I haven't put together a lot of content. I'm just giving myself a 2-week deadline, but we all know how good I am at getting content out in my deadlines that I set myself. But I do plan to do a bit of a dining guide to show the dining off. I am definitely sharing more on my Facebook and Instagram at the moment, because I can manage them in little bite-sized chunks between quotes and work for customers. But if you are interested in booking to go on board the Disney Adventure or learning more about sailing with Disney, you can find me online everywhere under magical-traveler.com is the website. My social media is magicaltrvlr. And then Sarah, I know you've got lots of guides and content as well for families for their trips as well. Where's the best place to hunt down your content?
Yeah, so you can find us over at Mini Travelers.
Fab, brilliant. Other than that, guys, I hope you've enjoyed that episode, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.